people should need to appreciate that. They should stop shunning people who have made a change and have taken a step further to improve their life. And I'll go back to when people say, why are you trying to change God's creation? I mean, I don't think God brought us on earth to suffer. And here's somebody who has come from Gigantomastia free zone, from a Gigantomastia zone to a Gigantomastia free zone, and you will find somebody who has the audacity to start now mocking you. Oh, mbona ulienda kukatakata matiti? Why did you go and do this? That is why there's this quote that goes like, don't quote my actions if you don't know my reasons for doing it. If you were not in my shoes, you would never understand what I was going through. My name is Ruth Makena Mugaa, the founder of Gigantomastia Foundation. And the one thing that very many women I have seen associate me with is breasts, breast reduction, and how to reduce the breast size. This is as a result of what I do. Gigantomastia Foundation was founded purposely to help women and men, young ladies, young boys suffering from gigantomastia, and in men, it is called gynacomastia. Gigantomastia is a rare breast condition that comprises of 3% of your breast tissues. It is highly associated with hormones. It could be genetic. And one of the signs to look out when you have gigantomastia are extremely large breasts, back pains, shoulder pains, neck pains, and some patients complain of unexplainable headaches that they don't know where they're coming from. We could say that the prevalence of gigantomastia could be 1 in 1,000 women because of very little awareness. Not so many people know what gigantomastia is. You can find ladies, they just have big breasts and think it is something very normal. And before you know it, you have gigantomastia because you start complaining of the backaches, the neck pains, and even you find your breast size is very, very, very big. I personally suffered from gigantomastia 10 years ago, and that is when I took the liberty to found the Gigantomastia Foundation. Gigantomastia is indeed a condition that needs to be given a lot of attention because it can be treated locally, and I am a witness to that. I had my surgery done 10 years ago by one Professor Stanley Hainga, and we had 7.3 kilos removed off my chest. Some people ask if gigantomastia could be life-threatening. If left unattended, there are women who get the sepsis. You get wounds on your breast that, they form the very big wounds, and if left untreated, the infection can spread and it can be life-threatening. It can also be life-threatening in the sense that there are some patients when they get this condition, they go into a depression. And you see, most of these patients, they don't know what's going on, and they can even resort to suicide because I've interacted with men and I've interacted with ladies who have gotten to a point whereby they're even contemplating to take away their lives because they don't understand what this is all about. Like the youngest patients I have ever assisted, it's safe to say 13-year-olds that have undergone the surgery. I mean, the lack of awareness is what makes people just sit back and not know that gigantomastia is an issue. Gigantomastia has also been associated with a lot of stereotypes. You find like in the rural areas, people say that this child has been bewitched. Others you find just because they have this big breast, they are ready to be sold off to become somebody's wife, which is not the truth. It trickles down to social, economic aspects in our society. Needless to say, gigantomastia also affects somebody very psychologically in that you find that you're not like the other girls, you're not like the other ladies, you have difficulty in dressing. Even people associate yourself with your breasts as opposed to associating you with your face. You can even find others have been branded funny names like KCC. I'll speak for myself, my nickname was Fresian because they associate you with your breasts vis-a-vis your outlook, which is probably your face, your personality. I mean, and that is, it sucks the life out of somebody. Their self-esteem is really messed with because of gigantomastia. Some people ask if gigantomastia is treatable. Yes, Gigantomastia is treatable through a reduction mammoplasty surgery, whereby you go into theater with the plastic surgeons and they conduct a reduction mammoplasty surgery. It is done under general anesthesia for close to 4 hours in theater. It is a very safe surgery and its results are instant. You see, it improves a lady's sheer appearance immediately. Unfortunately, gigantomastia is not paid for or is not catered for by insurance companies because they deem it as a cosmetic surgery, which is quite unfortunate. I mean, when a patient cannot go on with their day-to-day activities because of this weight on their chest, and their health is debilitating, their back is debilitating, it's quite unfortunate to categorize it as a cosmetic surgery. I'll also speak for myself that when I had my surgery done 10 years ago, my parents had to pay for me quite a chunk of money, which is 500,000 Kenya shillings. And in most scenarios, women come up with questions like, will I be able to breastfeed after having surgery? How do the scars look like? Yes, in most cases that we have done, like I can say this year we've hit the 200 mark of helping patients over 5 years. And most of these ladies are successfully breastfeeding, they're getting their children successfully, and they're living their better lives than they were before when they had the condition. The patients who come on board, given that this surgery in Kenya shillings, 500 Kenya shillings, we have very many tiers as to how we help our patients. There are some patients who can fully afford the surgery, and all they want is to have that help to walk the journey, to understand what they're going through. There are others, like the young children, who are fully sponsored by the county governments. And there are other patients who cannot afford, and we try and cost-share the cost of the surgery. In most scenarios, the chances of reoccurrence are very minimal. Yes, because you can look at me 10 years later, I'm still the same Makena after surgery, after having 7.3 kilos off my chest. But sometimes I say, medics say that when they reoccur is like when a patient is probably on hormonal medicine, like the ARVs, the family planning, because, the patients even who come who are suffering from HIV, and we cannot discriminate from helping these patients. So chances of reoccurrence are very minimal. When it comes to the male gender, it is called gynacomastia, whereby you find a man with breasts, they're fully developed breasts, and when you look at them, you look like, and in most scenarios, you hear people saying, look at this man, he has moobs, male breasts. So they also undergo the same procedure, whereby they have the surgery done, and the breast tissues are removed, and the breast is also reconstructed. And as time goes by, you see that the techniques and what was being done 10 years ago is not what is being done now. The techniques and the doctors are equipping themselves with more knowledge, and the men also benefit from a liposuction, to remove the excess fats after the surgery is done, to give a very good contour. I mean, you can imagine a man with breasts. What does that do to his self-esteem? Leave alone his self-esteem, his ego. Indeed, gigantomastia and gynacomastia is a condition that really needs to be given a lot of awareness. We need to continue making a lot of noise about it. Like, say about breast cancer, we have October here where people are making noise about breast cancer awareness. We have a fistula day. We have HIV awareness days. My dream and my wish was for me to push for even gigantomastia to have a gigantomastia day in the calendar, because this is an issue that women are suffering from day to day. You find even women have gigantomastia. They don't even want to leave their houses. They have no lives. They are being shunned. They're being ridiculed because of these big breasts. I mean, when growing up in a biology class, what defines a woman? It is her hips. It is her breast. And when you have these breasts that are making you look like you're an outcast in the society, it is something that needs to be treated. It needs to be made. People need to make noise about it, and people need to understand. I could say the impact that Gigantomaster Foundation has brought for the 5 years, and it warms my heart that very many people are coming out to know that there's this condition. It can be treated locally, that you don't have to go out, and the outcome is just impeccable. We are out of this shell of whereby people don't want to go an extra mile to get this treatment. But I'm happy to see that when people ask queries, is this thing done? How is it done? And so many people have come out in large numbers, And people, they are not hiding in their houses. Women are not hiding. Men are also coming out. That is one of the impact. Number two, the awareness bit about it. So many people are getting to know about this condition that nobody had bothered making noise about it. I mean, how many women had these surgeries before and just kept quiet and just kept to themselves and made it such a private affair? I can say I'm happy that even if you don't get the help through me, you've gotten it through somebody somewhere else. But at the end of the day, it warms my heart that you have had that condition rectified. You're not just seated somewhere wondering what is going on with myself. Having established the foundation 5 years ago, I'm happy to say, and I'm proud to say that I've been able to reach out to 200 women, and we are continuing with the race. The surgeries have been very successful, and people are becoming more open to having this surgery done. I'm planning to expand in Africa. The other day I was having a conversation with a doctor from Tanzania, and she was like, there are no plastic surgeons there who can do these surgeries. And she wanted me to sit down with my surgeons and my team to see if we could go across the border. We have even had patients from Dubai coming in, Uganda, Rwanda. They come and have this surgery done here very successfully. Yes. And my ultimate is I would pray for God to give me resources and to give me people who can hold my hand, and I can just build a very big hospital where you just walk in and have the surgery done, and we continue walking the journey with you. There's this Q&A I always get from people who come to talk to me. How can we support Gigantomastia? Number one, as you can see from here, my logo has polka dots. You can adopt a patient. You can decide that I have this patient who cannot afford to have the surgery done, and you can pay and walk the journey with this patient through donations. Also, now that I'm getting to a tier of building a hospital, you can come in and say, if you have a piece of land somewhere, and tell them, Makena, you can start with this piece of land. I mean, it is something very systematic, but that would be my end-term goal, to build a hospital. And anybody who would wish to come and walk the journey with me, I would really appreciate, because this is not something that is stopping tomorrow, because more and more people are coming out and are being very open-minded. In that regard, by the way, people should need to appreciate that they should stop shunning people who have made a change and have taken a step further to improve their life. And I'll go back to when people say, why are you trying to change God's creation? I mean, I don't think God brought us on earth to suffer. And they said that God cannot give you a situation whereby he knows that you cannot pull through. That is why when the doctors come up and they actively go into theater for those 4 to 5 hours to try and rectify the condition, I mean, it is a sickness. When somebody can't even get fitting clothes, when somebody is constantly going for physiotherapy, your back is giving you these pains, it is a sickness. So I would also urge the society to be very careful as to what they tell people who are suffering from the condition, and those ones who have taken liberty after that to have the surgery done. There's a lot of, when you have gigantomastia, there's a lot of mental torture, because you're not like the rest. And here's somebody who has come from gigantomastia free zone, from a gigantomastia zone to a gigantomastia free zone, and you will find somebody who has the audacity to start now mocking you. Oh, mbona ulienda kukatakata matiti? Why did you go and do this? That is why there's this quote that goes like, don't quote my actions if you don't know my reasons for doing it. If you were not in my shoes, you would never understand what I was going through. I mean, how many women have come after surgery and have said, after my surgery, I've even gotten a suitor? Before that, you could find somebody talking to you like a man, and they're like, you would feel like, oh, so you're out to see me because of my breasts. And after surgery, you find like so many women, they come back and say, Makena, thank you so much. It's taking your life to another level. And my message today to any woman, any young child, and I'll start with the women and the child. And we believe the girl child, we are the future. The future is in our children's hands. If you have a child who is coming to you and telling you, Mom, I'm so uncomfortable with the size of my breast, I would urge you as a parent to go out an extra mile and listen to your child's cry. Because by the time a child is coming to you and they're like, Mom, I'm feeling this way, and you answer to the child like, don't worry, even your grandmother was like that, even your auntie is like that. No, I think we're in a generation whereby we are in a very dynamic, we are living in a very dynamic space whereby when these things happen, now we can see that there's a lot of information right there. We should stop equating what our past generation was to what we are now. Probably my grandmother probably could have had that issue, but she did not know that there's this treatment, so she had to live with it. And again, don't shun somebody who's coming to ask you for support. Come out in large numbers. Be your sister's keeper. Do not judge and do not be so fast to talk about somebody else's condition whereby you yourself, you have not been in those shoes. Be empathetic and be sympathetic. Try and understand what somebody is trying to tell you. Another tier is the tier of spouses. I can say at times I have a very big problem with unsupporting spouses. You can see your wife has a very big bust, her back is paining, her shoulder, her health is debilitating, her day-to-day activities are limited because of the size of the breast, and the best thing you can say, I like how she looks like that. I feel like that is normally very inhumane and very selfish, because this is a human being just like you, suffering, I pray for spouses to hold their wives' hands and let them overcome the stigma and let them get the best medical attention that they could get. Yes. So in rural areas, it is also a message to you that to stop shunning and saying that gigantomastia is a taboo. It is a sickness. As I had said earlier, the people say it is witchcraft, that this one has been bewitched. I mean, we are past such reasoning and ways of expressing things like witchcraft. I mean, fine, probably there's witchcraft, but what does witchcraft have to do with big breasts? That is a question I would ask. What does witchcraft have to have with somebody having big breasts and having backaches? It's high time that we open up our minds, because our generation is very, very dynamic. You can find me on my social media pages, Gigantomastia Foundation on Facebook, Gigantomastia Foundation on Instagram. Yes, and the phone number is 0786 406036, 0786 406036.